Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. All right, first question. Best correction for hip shift during the descent of a squat? Shouldn't care about it, doesn't matter. You've been watching too much of that Squat University guy who basically is a weak guy, can't squat anything, is obsessed with perfect form to the detriment of getting strong. He can't lift anything. Guy's a mid-300 squatter. He can't even squat 400, I promise you. Again, you can look at his videos of him squatting and determine that. So why do you guys obsess over what some weak guy says? Why do you care? He doesn't know anything. He can't even squat. So my point would be, why do you care about a little hip shift? There's going to be a little bit of asymmetry in your structure. Most people have slightly different hip angles in their two hips. You probably have one leg that's ½ inch longer than the other. You're going to see when things start to get heavy, you're going to see some little minor things like that occur. If it's not causing you pain and you are getting stronger, why do you care? I mean, here's the other thing I would ask with that. If you see a guy break a world record who has a little bit of hip shift and he breaks a world record, because you'll see it if you look all the time, breaks a world record and he's uninjured, clearly it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Quit worrying about stuff like this. You are not symmetrical. You're not. You're human. We are asymmetrical by our nature. And again, if you're not concerned with trying to compete in bodybuilding where they care about symmetry at a competitive level, which I don't coach or promote or teach here, then don't worry about it. Just keep getting stronger. Keep getting stronger. If you're worried about some left to right imbalances, maybe do some more one-legged work or some wider stance work. And let everything just kind of sort itself. Okay, this minor things like hip shift actually do not matter. It's just nonsense. All right, next question. What is the rationale behind doing an all-out AMRAP after a max effort upper? For example, if you did max bench, I see some lifters, part of Westside, doing a 6-rep AMRAP afterwards. Why not just do a 3x10 at 70% or a 3x8 at 75%? Good question. I don't know the rationale. I don't know the rationale. I would actually have to go see a lecture or an article from Louis Simmons explaining the rationale. I don't see the rationale. Other than maybe they just want to get another really fatiguing rep in, so they need to do an AMRAP to get there. And they're sticking with relatively low reps because they want to build a little more neuromuscular efficiency. I don't see the point. Even particularly when at Westside they start talking about doing 2 maxes in one day, I think doing something like this becomes pointless. Now, they might have their reasons, and you would need to hear Louis Simmons' reason. I don't program that way for the most part, right? My lifters know that. People who watch and see a little bit of what my lifters do know that. I don't program that way. I would actually rather do 10s at 70%. That's what I would rather do. 3x8 at 75% is not bad either. I think that's probably better for most people. Get in and build some hypertrophy, build some muscle afterwards, after your maxes. And the other thing that you have to remember, and I say this with the utmost respect because I do think Louis Simmons is quite possibly the greatest strength coach of our lifetime, right? I think he very possibly is. Okay, let me give you my opinion. I do think he is. All right, let me make that clear. Greatest strength coach of our time. Louis, when he says that we do something, doesn't mean that they do it all the time. Louis Simmons, when he gets up and says, well, this is what we do at Westside, sometimes he means last week or this week. And they might not do that thing again that he said they do for 12 weeks for 6 months. They might do it for 3 weeks once a year. Okay? Keep that in mind when you're dealing with Louis and the way that he does stuff. He is always changing and experimenting all the time, trying to find the things that work best. And a lot of the methods like that they use, he might say, well, we do this and we'll do this AMRAP. They might only do that once every 12 weeks. You don't know unless you dig deeper and ask him how often are they really doing that. Because he always says, well, this is what we do. But the different 37 things that he says that they do, they can't possibly do them all in the same week or the same month. Okay, this stuff gets spread out. And keeping in mind, he says stuff like he tries to not even have people max on the same lift more than once every 12 weeks. He uses a lot of these same methods the same way. Okay, they might only use them once every 12 weeks. So just keep that in mind when you're dealing with Louis. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Look, if you want to do a heavier AMRAP every now and then off of a max effort lift, fine. You'll have to cut some supplemental workout to do it. I wouldn't recommend that you do it every week. It's probably not ideal. Probably not ideal. I wouldn't program it that way. It can have merit. Just keep in mind it's not going to build as much muscle. It's going to give you a little more specificity with that one lift you just did. It's going to let you practice some heavy reps with it. It's going to let you hit a grinder because you did an AMRAP, just like you did on the max. You're going to hit another grinder. But it's also going to limit hypertrophy. So just be aware that it's not going to give you a lot of volume. And it is going to fatigue you quickly. So it's not something you want to do all the time. Probably good for a one-off thing, right? All right, next question and last question of the week. I like your content more now that you have been personally coaching. I do full body Monday, Wednesday, Friday. People say that heavy, light, medium is the way to go with that. What would the rep ranges be? 3 to 6, 12 to 20, and 7 to 11? Or would you advise? I've been sticking to 5 to 10 range for Monday and Wednesday, and Friday the 3 to 6 rep range, or 12 to 20. Not looking to compete, just look good naked. I'm probably the wrong person to ask because I don't program like this. Okay, and I want to make that clear. I do not program full body with heavy, medium, light. I program full body linear for ranked novices, right? I don't advocate or put out advice on this sort of training, and I tell you guys all the time, all of my lifters, even my novices, tend to go on 4-day upper lower programs. And as soon as they are able, we go over to conjugate. I personally do not believe that 3-day full body is ideal once you're past a novice. I know because I've messed with it as an advanced lifter. I've worked with it as an advanced lifter. I made nowhere near, not even in the ballpark of the sort of gains I've made since I went back to doing conjugate, right? Nowhere near. And I've run everything in between. You guys have seen me do Bulgarian stuff. You guys have seen me do stuff where I trained every day. I always make my best progress when I do conjugate style training, which generally means 4-day upper lower, and realistically meaning having a, whether you choose to do it as max work or speed work, a heavier and a lighter day. Again, the problem is the rep ranges you're picking, they're not always suitable for certain lifts. They're not suitable for certain lifts. So if you're just sticking to that one rep range every day, you're going to have a lot of lifts that it doesn't work well in. I mean, are you doing 3 to 6 rep on skull crushers or tricep extensions? Right? Are you trying to do 12 reps on box squats and deadlifts? Again, this is going to be problematic. If you're trying to stick to one rep range every workout, which is what you're doing with this sort of protocol, you're going to run into problems with certain lifts. You're only going to be able to do certain lifts, ideally. You need to limit yourself that way. But I would say if you're not a novice anymore, then you need to drop the 3-day upper lower. Or I'm sorry, the 3-day full body. You need to go to a upper lower program. Even if you say, well, I only want to train 3 days a week, then go to upper lower and do a little more volume. The problem you get with full body is just, it is very, very difficult to get the correct training volume in a single session to make all your muscles grow. Unless you're willing to spend 4 hours in the gym. But then you look at it from that same perspective, you don't need to be doing all of it 3 times a week then either. So if you're not a novice lifter, I don't recommend that you program this way. It's not going to be ideal. And even if you say, well, I can only make it to the gym 3 days a week, then you need to use more ideal programming, honestly. It's not a question of you don't want to compete, but if you're going to spend the time in the gym, you should do it productively. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.